Hi, I'm Patrick Barnard, Group Managing Editor for TMCnet, coming to you from Interactions 2011 here in Indianapolis. This is Interactive Intelligence's annual users forum, and joining me is Interactive Intelligence founder, CEO, chairman, and president, Dr. Don Brown. How you doing, Don?
Really well.
Good to see you.
Nice to see you.
So a lot of exciting announcements at this year's users forum. A lot of big news coming out of the show. Biggest piece of news, no doubt, is the release of CIC 4.0, which we have coming up in June, and a lot of new improvements and developments in that particular area. And I'm just going to cut right to the chase with the speech analytics. That's a big piece of it. Having that integrated in is obviously a huge piece of the upgrading of this platform. I was just wondering if you could speak to that particular piece of it and how this will benefit Interactive Intelligence CIC customers.
Sure. Well, it's actually part of an even broader trend where we have eliminated all the third-party voice processing that used to occur within the CIC server. We've moved it down into the media server, our own components. And down in the media server, we have a channelized connection to the customer side of a call and the agent side of a call. And so it's a great place for us to add more advanced functionality, and in 4.0, that's the speech analytics, which really comes in the form of word or phrase spotting. So the basic idea is that an organization can go into an administrative panel, fill out words and phrases that they care about. Classic example is cancel my account, cancel my subscription, something like that. And then we'll start listening for that word or phrase on every call, or whichever sets of calls the customer designates.
Either on the agent side or
the customer side. And so if we hear, if you're the customer and you say cancel my subscription somewhere, anywhere during the course of a conversation, then we will send off an alert that goes to a supervisor that expands up on their supervisory interface. Can kind of ring bells and light lights, and then that supervisor can jump in and take that call over. They can whisper in, if I'm the agent, whisper in my ear. They can initiate a recording if the call wasn't being recorded already, and otherwise just take steps to keep you from canceling your subscription.
And that ability to be able to intervene on the call is key to being able to steer
in real time, exactly.
Yeah, the real-time piece is a critical part of it. I mean, we've been hearing for years now about speech analytics, and the real-time part of it was something that the industry was sort of chasing after for quite a while. What would you say were the technological developments or factors that led to real-time really becoming real, not to be too redundant?
Well, for us it meant building the speech analytics directly into the media server. So in the media server we've got components that handle fax, conferencing, recording, playing prompts and other audio. And so for us, it was just another component that could sit there and as the audio was passing through, just be doing a continuous match. We've got waveforms of words and phrases we're interested in, and just continually doing a very high-speed match. And when a good match occurred above a given level of confidence, sending off an alert. And so it's something that fit well in the architecture, didn't require any third-party components, no speech rec engines or anything else, which means that it's very affordable for our customers. They can just turn it on with a license key. It's something that happens in real time, and it's also very actionable, because a lot of speech analytics has, the adoption of speech analytics has been held back because oftentimes you get back big reports of all sorts of trends and things going on, but companies don't know what to do with them. And so it's not too hard for any of us in our businesses to sit down and think, what are the 10 or 20 or 50 things that if we heard a customer say, we would go, I want to do something about that. We can all do that, and then decide what those actions are. So that's why the word spotting and this form of speech analytics is getting people so excited.
Okay, great. And what about processor speed and what that plays? Obviously, that plays a pretty important role as well as in terms of being able to do this in real time.
It does. We've tried to work to really create a highly optimized, very efficient algorithm to do this sort of spotting, but it's aided by the fact that CPUs keep getting faster and faster and faster, and our media server architecture allows us to just add additional media servers to handle load. So one cool thing about it is that the performance isn't impacted by the overall system load.
Right.
It doesn't matter whether customers have an environment where they're processing 100 calls at a time or 10,000 calls at a time.
Right.
They get the same level of accuracy on speech analytics regardless of that sort of load, because they can just apply more media servers.
Right.
And also bring that same sort of speech analytics to bear on additional languages, not just English, but we're offering Spanish and Canadian French and working on German and Polish and a number of others.
Right, okay, great. Yeah, and that's also key as well as you broaden that into international markets. And I think you hit on something there in terms of the key capability of it, is that you're doing this in the actual audio stream.
Right.
I think the reason why so many solutions previously weren't real time is because you were recording it.
Right.
And sure, maybe you could quickly go into the recording and word spot, but in general, it was always something that happened after the transmission of voice had already taken place.
Yeah, it's that much tougher because in a recording, you've got merged voice. And so first, you've got to try to tease apart the two different voices, and that's an inexact process to begin with. For us, we've got complete pristine channels to each side, so when we're analyzing the customer side, we don't hear any of the agent's voice. It's uncontaminated.
Right.
And vice versa.
Yeah, that's
so
good.
It really just makes the whole thing a lot more efficient and a lot simpler.
Okay, great. In addition, you've also introduced this interaction web portal, which I understand is going to be a very useful tool for upper management to get in-depth visibility and insight into contact center operations. Right. Tell me a little bit more about that. I mean, there was previously web administrative interfaces, from what I understand, for the various products, but this sort of consolidates more. Is that right?
Well,
it's
a little bit different because it's not aimed at internal administrators to perform their setup and configuration. It's rather a portal that they can use to open up their operation to give visibility to people outside.
It's a reporting tool, really.
And kind of a real-time visibility tool. Now, our initial target for this was outsourcers.
Right.
So outsourcers take calls and other interactions for other companies. And those companies often want to know what's going on. How well are they doing?
Right.
And so they would like to be able to listen in on calls. If you're my outsourcer and you're taking some of my customer service calls, I want to be able to listen to the calls that you're handling and make sure your people are doing a good job.
Right.
I like to be able to download recordings and listen to them myself, or have my team listen to them, again, to verify the level of quality you're providing my customers.
Right.
I'd like to be able to view statistics. How many agents are you staffing at any given time, so that I can make sure that you're providing the appropriate level of service. And the list goes on and on and on. So this is very popular for outsourcers. It's a way that they can give that sort of visibility to their customers.
And charge for it, right?
And charge for it.
Right.
But what has surprised us is that corporate customers have come to us and said, wait, we want the same thing. We go, well, why? And I said, well, we have stakeholders throughout our organizations who are, in essence, our customers. So we are acting as outsourcers for the rest of our organization. Right. We want to provide them this exact same sort of visibility so that they can listen to calls in real time, they can download recordings, run reports, maybe even alter call flows and other things that we do on their behalf.
Right.
So it's proven to be much more popular than and across a wider target range than we had originally anticipated.
Right.
So that's a good thing.
Yeah, and I was talking to Joe Staples about it before, the Chief Marketing Officer, and he was showing me how you can drill down. It's not just a static reporting tool in real time where it's just like, here's the results. You can click on links and drill down into each little piece of data that you get and get as fine-grained as you want.
It's an active portal. It lets you see and hear what's going on now inside the operation.
Right. Okay, great. Okay, great. And another improvement in 4.0 is the detailed logging.
Yes.
And that's something else that I understand that a lot of your customers have been asking for,
Yes.
more granular logging
Yeah.
data. So talk a little bit about that. What are the benefits there for clients?
Yeah, our customers have been beating us up for years. They would really like detail about everything that ever happens in the system.
Right.
The problem is we could just log to disk every time anything happens with a date stamp and a time stamp. What we would do would be to generate more data than the Library of Congress has in a very short period of time.
Right.
And so the challenge has always been how to give customers what they want, but without totally saturating their networks and their storage arrays. So to do it in some sort of intelligent, efficient way. Mm-hmm. And what we hit on this time was an approach where for every interaction, I'll talk about calls, but this really applies to all interactions, emails, text chats, and so on. Mm-hmm. But for every interaction, we write a summary record to a database that has the basic information about that interaction. When it came, when it ended, who the customer was, how many times it was put on hold, how many times it went into queue, how many times it was transferred, how many times it was conferenced. Wow. And that we can do in a relatively short amount of space, a relatively small database record. Mm-hmm. And then for the more detailed individual actions, what we do is we keep a what's called a blob in the trade, a binary object,
right.
or often using XML. And in there, we encode every individual action that takes place. Mm-hmm. Every time the call came into queue, every time it was answered, by whom. Every time it was placed on hold, by whom. Every time it was transferred, to whom. Every time it was conferenced, with whom. The result of the interaction, any follow-up that was taken on behalf, and then organizations can get into this little kind of compressed stream and go crazy. Mm-hmm. They can get all the detail they want, everything stamped down to the millisecond, so all the information is there without totally overwhelming their database and their storage area network. Mm-hmm. So we think that customers would be happy because we've got a nice middle ground, a nice balance that gives them all the information they need without just creating a crazy amount of data.
Okay, great. I know there's a lot of other little details about and improvements across the board for the new version of CIC coming out. I guess one of the questions that's left over after all of that, though, is you guys are seeing great success with your CAS model. And of course, people are naturally going to wonder, well, when is 4.0 going to be available via CAS?
Well, the CAS team is putting plans in place to roll 4.0 out in their operation. The good thing is that they can do that incrementally. They can put new customers up on 4.0 who explicitly want that 4.0 functionality while keeping current customers on 3.0, so they don't have to make a wholesale trade out. Right. So within a few weeks after 4.0 comes out, we'll start to see CAS customers able to adopt 4.0 if they want to.
And trial it.
Right. And have access to speech analytics, the fine-grained reporting, the more detailed supervision, email routing, all those enhancements from 4.0.
Right. Okay, great. Obviously, the CAS model would provide for a pretty easy migration path once it does become a reality. Yep. What's migration now? What's involved? I mean, it's free, right? The upgrade, is that correct?
Right.
But what's involved in migration right now for existing
for premise customers?
Yes.
Generally, it's a matter of migrating their data. With this release, we've moved to a newer version of Windows Server.
Right.
So they have to take their 2003 server, they have to get a Windows 2008 server, run a migration program that moves the data from one to the other, and then install the software on the 2008 server. Okay. So it's mostly a matter of just moving the data that they've accumulated to the new server.
Okay, and what about the media processing piece, moving that down to the media processing server?
It's very easy.
Do you have to get a new unit for that?
No. It's just a software update to the media server and they're good to go. So
really?
That's the easy part.
Okay. Yeah, I was wondering about that because obviously it's going to put additional, it's going to require additional resources from that server.
Right.
So, but from what I understand, there's typically enough room there. So
there's a good amount amount of headroom in those servers. And again, the great thing about the media server, they're like routers or switches.
Right.
You know, if you don't have enough capacity in one, you just get another box and deploy it.
Scale
it
out.
automatically splits the load. There's no configuration or anything. So it's a pretty painless way to add new function and to grow an organization.
Right. Okay, great. Fantastic. I mean, a lot of improvements, a lot of new features and functionality. Most of it, I think, driven by customer demand, correct?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. Well, thanks very much for your time, Don. We've been
pleasure.
talking to Dr. Don Brown, Chairman, CEO, and President of Interactive Intelligence, coming to you from Interactions 2011 here in Indianapolis. Thanks again for your time.
Thank you.